Hello and welcome to Dialogue. 10 years ago, China proposed the idea of building a global community with a shared future for the mankind. Today, the Chinese government released a white paper elaborating China's proposals and actions on building such a community. The white paper reviews achievements made in the past 10 years since the concept was first raised and provides guidance for future development. What does the concept of a global community with a shared future mean to global governance? How has the idea been incorporated in real actions? And what are the challenges ahead? To help us answer these questions and more, I'm joined by Teng Jianqun, Director for the Center of Arms Control of China's Institute of International Studies, Wenping, Senior Research Fellow at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, and Harvey Dzodin, Senior Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. That's our topic. I'm Xu Qinduo. Welcome to Dialogue. Wenping, I will start with you. So share with us, what's your takeaway from the white paper, or what are the highlights of this latest release of the information?
Well, first of all, I think it's very timely to come out with this white paper because it is exactly 10 years' time since this idea has been put forward. And also, this is not just a lip service talking about a shared future with this global community. Actually, Chinese government also come out with this BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Also, that was taken place in the year 2013 since President Xi Jinping visited Kazakhstan that year, September, and then following the month visited Indonesia. And then by that year, at the end of the 2013, come out with this idea, Belt and Road. And then in the 10 years time, a lot of projects, with thousands of projects has been operating. Some of them has already finished, some are ongoing. So this lots of connectivity has been done. For example, Africa continent, that's the continent I do the further deep research. So before the COVID-19, I traveled to Africa, as many as 36 countries, and even 1 or 2 countries, I've been there more than South Africa more than 15 times. So whenever I go, and I can see a lot of projects going on, industrial park, and the railway construction, and the bridge, harbor. So you name it, all are very tangible, and you can touch it, you can feel it, you can see the people enjoy all those connectivity very much. And also GDP, economic growth has been pushed forward. For example, Kenya, GDP has been increased a lot, even coming from that Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway alone. So those are the achievements, I think, not just the lip service talking about share the future, but we have been doing things, moving the things towards that direction. Yeah, because we are living in this planet, we only have one planet, right? So this a green development is also very key component for this shared community. Even in the past 3 years, COVID-19, this virus, spreading all over the world, I think once again proved that we are share this global village very much. Even this health issue, the virus issue, yes. Now always repeating and keep telling us, just with one breath, and then we share the same air. That's exactly the meaning about this shared community of this global Earth.
Well, Jianqun, Wenping talked about the connectivity, development, growth, and sharing. So, of course, let's take a look at this, a closer look at this idea. Before we touch upon where it is from, let's take a look at what it is not. The white paper says, quote, "The law of the jungle, zero-sum game, and the win or lose, winner-takes-all mindsets have exacerbated the divide between the rich and poor around the world, the globe." So tell us, how wrong probably, what are the problems with these mindsets, like zero-sum game, for example, and what kind of results or consequences that have led to?
Yeah, this is really a good time for us to understand the current world we are facing now. For example, we are facing challenges, we are facing opportunities, and there is a big gap for the different groups of countries in the world to go ahead, whether to go together or to go individually. This is actually a policy of multilateralism or unilateralism. So I think the ideas or the the word phrase used in this white paper just to show the challenges we are facing now, as some major powers just have adopted the policy only for their own sakes. So this is a really challengeable, and this is a really a tough time for the international community to go at all to share the common interests and to share the future for all the countries, not for some specific countries at this time.
Well, every country deserves a future. Harvey, like how do you characterize this concept of a global community with a shared future? If you are required, if you asked to, share with the people, like what's the major idea behind such a concept?
The concept is to be inclusive, for everybody to join together, to work together. It's the opposite of zero sum. It's the opposite of law of the jungle. And actually, I read through this paper twice, and I find it to be very inspiring. I think it should be required reading for anybody interested in bilateral, multilateral relations, international relations, because it is so inclusive. And I remember that in 2017 that President Xi Jinping was in Switzerland on a state visit, and he again repeated this concept of a community of shared future for mankind. I also remember that 3 days later, Donald Trump was elected president. And so that America First is the opposite of what this white paper is all about. This white paper is about moving forward together because we have no choice. We have to work together on problems like the environment, like global public health, like peace and security, or we're not going to be here for very long.
Wenping, just like Harvey has said that, this idea represents probably a new approach toward global international relations, how we conduct our relations with other countries, with the rest of the world. But then people would say it also comes from the Chinese culture, Chinese tradition, all the essence, probably part of the essence of the Chinese culture to share, to see the world as one family. Tell us where it is from in terms of the cultural heritage here.
Yes, actually, Chinese culture, I found a lot of common those values even in Africa. Like this shared culture. In China, like we have a big family, especially in the rural area. Three generations stay together. Even though you are not stay together, like those young generation, they have their own apartment, but this is sharing. Now we have October, this national holidays coming, mid-autumn holidays coming. So people all come about, think about how to join the family. So this is a family valued, this culture, and not to put your individualism at a priority concern. We always, focus on collectiveness, and the sharing. Even the Chinese, I share with my African friends, saying even the Chinese eating way is a share. This rotating table, the table is circling. All those dishes can be shared by all the people around this table. It's not like a Western style of eating. You order your own dishes, and then you are not touch anyone else their dishes. So individually, so this is come from China's very traditional, those deep-rooted culture. So we enjoy things together, we share things together. So actually, I think based on this kind of thinking, and then that's why it's naturally Chinese government come out 3 initiatives. One is Global Development Initiative, another is a Global Security Initiative, and then Global Civilization Initiative. Because we focus on this, like Harvard just said, inclusiveness. rather than exclusiveness. Yeah, we focus on like globalization will continue. Yeah, in this connectivity between China and the rest of the world, rather than saying de-globalization. Those calling for decouple, de-link, has been talking quite a long time since this Donald Trump, because in Donald Trump's thinking, American first, not anything else. So if anything against the Americans' interest, okay, let's cut it, let's drop it. So that's the totally based on this individualism rather than collectiveness. So this is a different culture. So that is also why China fully against this decouple, de-link, this kind of thinking. We continue saying we cannot. Even saying, even though America playing this card of one China policy, but you see, we have never said, all right, let's decouple, de-link. We threw away this American market. Let's go to another place. Not at all. We continue saying we should be together. This globalization, economic globalization, that is fit with this global interest of our all human community.
Jianqun, the three initiatives, it seems to be, in particular, like a Belt and Road Initiative, it's like this more tangible, let's say, initiative in terms of putting it into practice and see tangible results, of working together, of building such a community. Chinese top diplomat Wang Yi, speaking at the press conference about the white paper, he talked about China building community with other countries, of dozens of countries, more than 100 countries in terms of the BRI, and also many countries agree and support the Chinese initiative on security, on global development, global security, of course, civilization initiative too. So what is the key message from all these initiatives, and what are the achievements over the past 10 years?
I think number one job for us to understand such initiative, for the Road and Belt and development or security initiative, we should think about the world we are facing now. For example, the multipolarization of international politics, which means no individual country can deal with the challenges like COVID-19, terrorism, or proliferation of WMD. So this is a multipolarization of the international politics. We need such cooperation in dealing with the challenges. And the second, I think, is the globalization of the world economy. So the countries like the United States initiated the so-called decoupling. The risk they just gave their own, interests for the policy. So if we have a comparison between the two countries, we can find the big difference in that we would like to share our achievement. We would like to deal with challenges with all the countries in the world, but the United States would like to take, individually its policy just for the sake of the hegemony or for the dominant position in the world or in some regions.
Well, Harvey, of course, it's really about the application of such an idea of building a global community with a shared future. In some area, it's easy to understand, like climate change, fighting the pandemic, for example. All countries need to join hands against such a threat. But then, when it comes to national interests like economic growth or high advanced technology and science research, then it becomes a bit tricky. For example, the U.S. has pursued a policy of small yard, higher fences, such a policy. But of course, with the latest release of Huawei Mate 60 and other gadgets, and then there are questions about whether that policy is working or not. In reality, how can we bring, in particular, the major players together to, with a vision for the future of working together? I mean, with a long vision for the future, in the common future too.
I think one good sign has been that China and U.S. have now established several working groups to work on the key economic and commercial interests. Before, it was just a bunch of nice words, but no action. So I think working together at least bilaterally, is very important. And I'm very happy that there seems to be movement on that front. But it seems to me, too, that the U.S. position is to try to weaken China at all costs because America doesn't like to be number two. America believes in American exceptionalism, that we're chosen by God to be the rulers of the world. And this is not, this is the opposite of what this white paper is about. The white paper is about inclusiveness. The white paper is about working together. And in order to do this, we need to use every forum that we have, whether it's the United Nations, where China makes a huge contribution, both financially, also in terms of people power for the Blue Helmets, and also leadership of the UN, in terms of regional organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the many others that it's involved in. This is how we're going to work together, by talking, by trying to negotiate these things, and to look for win-win, not zero-sum. America looks too much at zero-sum because it doesn't want to lose. And America doesn't act like we can have a win-win solution. And I think if you look through this white paper, it's, if you want to summarize it, it's about win-win.
It's about a win-win. So, probably, we can have one more positive sign, the latest, from Wang Yi, actually. He talked about the APEC summit. He made it known that China is willing to play a constructive role in making the APEC summit a success, to be hosted by the U.S. in San Francisco. So in that sense, Harvey, can we be more confident? There'll be probably a momentum being built between the two countries in terms of seeking more cooperation to stabilize the relationship, if not improving the ties here.
There's two sides to this coin, unfortunately. And what Wang Yi talked about is the positive sign and hopeful sign that there can be work together. And also, you've got the Belt and Road Summit coming up too, and this is the third one. It's going to be about the progress that's been made about in the last 10 years, and there's a lot to celebrate there. The $1 trillion in projects, the 155 countries that are working on Belt and Road, I think 30 international organizations that have joined it. But on the other hand, we have a presidential election coming up in America in about 14 months. And the name of the game is how low can you go to demonize China? Because the low-hanging fruit of American politics is to poke China in the eye and to criticize China. So I'm very worried that for the next 14 months, and maybe beyond it, if someone like Trump, or what I call Trump with a brain, gets elected, that we're not going to make any progress. In fact, that the world's future is at risk. So I think all the countries of the world need to put pressure on the U.S. to try to build a cooperation. And we're not going to cooperate in every area at the beginning, but we've talked already about some of these things, like nuclear, like the environment, like global public health. We can start working there, and we can start building from there, and we can use international organizations to do this, because the international organizations are built on the principle equality, cooperation, and so on. So I'm optimistic in one sense internationally, but I worry about what's going to happen in the United States in the next 14 months and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Well, Wenping, we are going to have this, BRI summit very soon in October. Of course, it will talk about the achievements over there, and at the same time, we are also talking about the future, the next stage of BRI. It's evolving based on the conditions of global economic development. For example, in some African countries, there's a debt issue. From various sources, interest rates increase, for example, in the States, and of course, energy crisis, pandemic, all contributed to this problem. I mean, so how should China do in terms of applying, building global community, this idea, this concept into practice in dealing with those problems, or in developing the next stage of BRI?
Yes, we're all looking forward this October, this third BRI summit. I think that there will be very sure lots of African countries will join. So far, our foreign ministry already make announcement saying around even more than 100 countries will join this summit. Actually, so far there are as many as 150 countries has signed already BRI MOU with Chinese government. Of course, if you look about the past decades when the BRI kick off, we have seen at the very early stage a lot of big investment like a railway, like a harbor, airport, the terminal, those are huge infrastructure projects. Of course, we are taking a lot of investment. Those amount of money are quite a lot. Well, I don't think in the future, like you mentioned, a lot of challenge, like debt issue, like economic situation globally is not that encouraging. Even this Ukraine crisis also caused like this food crisis, fuel crisis, and also financial crisis. All those are happening now in African countries. So certainly, with those partner country, now they are short of this financial means, also short of this even the tourist industry not fully consume back yet. So I don't think a lot of big BRI, those infrastructure projects will continue. Of course, will slow down, and then more folks will goes to like those small size, maybe goes to people's livelihood, electricity, like South Africa even face of a power cut. So maybe now next phase in South Africa, this BRI corporation will focus more on how to come out with the power, generating the power, those facility issue. Not need big, huge investment, those infrastructure things. I think should relate with people's daily life more closely. I think this is going to be one of the direction. Another direction, of course, is public health construction. Even though COVID-19 saying now it's over, actually it's not completely over yet. It's come back, yeah, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, maybe other virus, another kind of new virus, maybe will come out. Who knows? So this public health things, I think, should be always there for our, very close concern. You cannot say after the virus come out and then we quickly make some response. This kind of a mentality is very dangerous. You have to prepare in advance. Yeah, not virus come and then you make action. You should prepare, yeah, long ago. Yeah, and then power yourself. Even though and then some new virus come out, we have those self-confidence, this capacity to deal with them. And then that's industrialization. I think it is also one of the key components for BRI because this is many countries involved with BRI, especially African countries, like South Asian country, Central Asian country. They still lag behind for their industrialization. But China has a lot of this rich technical know-how and also a lot of extra this industrial productivity capacity. Now we need to do this complementary with those countries now in deadly needs because those industrialization can create job. Now job is much needed. Lots of people now is jobless. Unemployment rate is very high in many countries. But how to resolve this issue? Have to come from those investment in industrialization. Otherwise, you cannot find a way out. So we have to do that is this input in industrialization, connectivity.
Growth, development, and then jobs. Jianqun, if you look at this, the idea, the new idea approaching this international relationship, it's easier, it seems to me, at least, I guess for a lot of people, for the developing world to build such a community. For example, if you look at the BRICS recently, the development of BRICS Plus or BRICS countries, 11 of them now. The countries, they have different political system, different culture, different tradition, but despite all of that, they come together and focus on the priority of building their country, of economic growth, and they have no problem of working together. That seems to me almost like an example of a global community with a shared future here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think this is a good example for us to understand the current situation of our world. For example, the global south actually just gave a very, strong and positive driving forces to the development, to the peace, to stability in some region or even in our, world. For example, the development of each country's economy, of course, can give a very solid improvement of the social life. So this is actually a tendency, a good tendency for the international community to go ahead, not by some individual countries for their own sake. So I think at this moment, the developing countries might be the most important driving forces for future, shared, community or share the future. So I think this is a good example for us to understand the current situation we are facing now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Harvey, as we just touched upon earlier, like the challenges. There are a series of challenges. Global economic slowdown, Ukraine conflict, as a decoupling or de-risking, a practice from the U.S., European countries with China, all major economies around the world, and also this is a supply chain issue, industrial chain issue. So with all these challenges in mind, we can say it is getting more difficult probably to build such a global community with a shared future. But of course, despite all the difficulty, we cannot afford to give up such an ideal, such a concept. What should we do, for the global community to come together and focus on building such a community with a future forward-looking vision here?
You're right. It's not going to be easy at all, but it's absolutely necessary if we're going to have a future. So I believe that there's about 200 countries in the world, and the countries have to really weigh in to the United States to get with the program and cooperate and not to engage in zero sum. The problems are really important, and they're even more than that, they're existential. If we don't start to address these problems, we're not going to have an environment that will support life. We're not going to have a planet that's healthy. So we need to use every facility that we have, whether it's BRICS, whether it's the UN, whether it's a regional body, to use those institutions to work together. And if the United States or any country is pushing back against going forward, I think that there's a lot of countries that will push back against them. It's a whole new ballgame now. We have so many challenges that are existential. We have to work together. And I believe especially that the global South is getting so well organized now, the global South will start to push back. But we'll work together where they can.
Mm-hmm. Well, Harvey, you just got back from Europe. You stayed there for like a couple of years, 3 years, I guess, around that. What kind of a role do you see in the European or EU is going to play? One of their senior officials in China talk about trade and investment. Very briefly, like 30 seconds.
Well, the EU leadership is actually divided about China and about going forward, and they're having their own internal debate. But I believe the EU can be the great fulcrum between the US, China, and the rest of the world, because they have the power to exercise their own independent national interest and self-interest. So I see the EU playing an increasing role in this endeavor.
Yeah, in bringing us together, maybe. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Many thanks to our guests. You can also find us on the CGTN app on YouTube. Thank you for being with us. I'm Xu Qinduo. See you next time.